Hey everybody, it's Ben, and this is my entry to Running with Comics 1 subscriber contest. First off, I want to give a big shout out and a big congratulations to Scott for reaching 400 subscribers, each and every one of them well and truly deserved. And if you aren't subscribed to Running with Comics or Scott, I will leave a link below to his channel in the description so you can go and check out his videos and subscribe to him. And Scott is just a really all-around great guy. He's just a generally, like I said, just a great guy who I've had the privilege of talking to on Google Chats over on Google Plus on a few occasions. And he's just a really generally kind and supportive guy, and always has really great things to say about the books that he reviews. And in my and from my point of view, he always leaves a really kind comment, or always shares his thoughts on the videos that I do, and always thumbs them up as well, which I greatly appreciate. So for his contest, Scott posed a couple of questions which I'll now answer. The first of which is name one Marvel, one DC, and one independent comic that you are enjoying above all the rest. Now for my indie pick, for those of you who watch my videos and you have seen my reviews of the other series that this particular company is publishing right now, you'll know that I absolutely swear by this company, as well as all of the series that I've reviewed from them so far, in terms of quality of storytelling and artwork. They are up there with Image, Dark Horse, just the best, and Dynamite, just some of the best indie publishers right now, and this particular company is no exception. And my pick is Ultron Armstrong from Valiant Entertainment. Now this series is written by Fred Van Lente, and we've had Clayton Henry on the first volume, which is the first 4 issues, and then El Manueno Lupacino on volume 2. Now this series follows the titular characters of Ultron Armstrong, who are pretty much an oddball couple of it's kind of a buddy comedy slash bromance slash globe-trotting adventure, while trying to basically outrun all of the secret societies and secret orders who are basically trying to take out both Archer and Armstrong. Now Archer is an immortal who loves drinking as well as bar brawling, and you have Archer, who is a really young kid who's been brought up by this secret cult with his parents, full of adopted children who have trained him to be an assassin. Now, in the first arc, you find out that Obadiah Archer, or Archer's parents, have basically lied to him about Armstrong the entire time, in that Armstrong is supposed to be this really dangerous immortal who can't be killed. But then he quickly learns about all of the various conspiracies and about this mysterious object known as the Boon, which is something that is very sought after by not only his parents, but also the various groups like the One Percenters, the Sect, and as I said, his parents as well. So he quickly becomes a buddy comedy slash team up slash globe-trotting adventure. And the writing in this by Fred Van Lente is absolutely fantastic. There's some great action scenes, there's great character development, there's great really humanizing moments for the characters, and this is just generally just a really, really fun series, and I cannot recommend Ultron Armstrong enough, along with any other of the series that Valiant is publishing right now. Just an absolutely fantastic series. And then with Volume 2, you have the introduction of the Eternal Warrior, or Gilad, who is Archer's brother, who basically Armstrong and Gilad really don't get on, as you see throughout this second volume. And you also see Gilad's role throughout history, protecting all of the various Geomancers that have appeared throughout time, and you see some really interesting historical characters show up in this. A particular favourite of mine is Blackbeard, or Edward Teach, during the 18th century. And you really see, like I said, Gillard just trying to protect all of these Geomancers throughout time, and basically having to butt heads with Ultron Armstrong constantly. Just an absolutely fantastic series, like I said, and highly recommended. For my DC pick, it's Wonder Woman by Brian Azzarello, Cliff Chiang, and Tony Aiken. Now, before the New 52, I never read any Wonder Woman, so this is going to be, or this is my personal definitive Wonder Woman run so far. And this is basically, this deals with Diana, or Wonder Woman, as a really badass Amazonian warrior princess, but at the same time, she's a very human character who stands up for the right, or stands up for the just and always does the right thing. And at the same time, Brian Azzarello does an absolutely fantastic job with the gods of Olympus, as they were portrayed in, as told by, Greek mythology historians and the myths that surround all of these gods. Particularly Zeus, who just can't seem to stop cheating on his wife Hera, with either goddesses or mortal women, and Hera as this really vengeful, really hurt woman, in spite of the fact that she's the queen of the Greek gods and she's the goddess of women. She's ultimately yet a woman who feels human emotions, and this is just the scale and the scope of this by Brian Azzarello and the creative team on this book. This is something akin to Homer's Iliad, the Odyssey, just an epic tale of, like I said, gods and mortals basically interacting with one another, and Wonder Woman basically caught in the middle, trying to protect Zola, who is a mortal woman who Zeus has visited and procreated with, shall we say. Just an absolutely fantastic series, and I cannot recommend Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman highly enough. And then in volume 2 you have the introduction of more of the Greek gods, and you really start to see the depths to which Apollo, the sun god, is willing to sink in order to get his hands on his father's vacant throne on Mount Olympus, as well as you also see some other notable Greek gods as well. And just like I said, absolutely fantastic series. Cannot recommend Wonder Woman highly enough. And finally, for my Marvel pick, this really shouldn't come as a surprise to all of the guys on a certain team on Twitter, or if you've watched my reviews of volumes 1 and 2 of this series, you know that I absolutely love it, and unfortunately it will be ending soon with issue 24. It's written by Cy Spurrier, and it is XMen Legacy. Now, this was my first exposure to Legion as a character. I knew him by reputation. I knew that he played a big role in the Age of Apocalypse storyline and essentially started it back in the 90s. And this was also my first exposure to the creative team as well, of Cy Spurrier, who is a British comics writer, and also Tang Ang Huat and Paul Davidson as artists as well. Now, I never cared for Legion until reading this, and then I read the first arc, and it's absolutely fantastic. And Cy Spurrier has managed to make Legion into a really interesting, compelling, and intriguing character to read about and follow throughout his journey, as he basically tries to come to grips with his late father Charles Xavier's legacy of mutant kind, and basically decide what his father's legacy means to him and how he's going to go about basically fulfilling his father's legacy. Particularly during the first story arc, you see Legion interacting with the X-Men, and also his point of views on what the X-Men stand for and what he thinks of them in terms of what they're doing for mutant kind. As also, you really get a really sweet and really genuinely you buy into the romance between Legion and Blindfold, or David and Ruth. And then in volume 2 you see Legion basically confronting the Red Skull, who, if you've read Uncanny Avengers, particularly the first arc, you'll know that the Red Skull is now in possession of his late father's brain and his late father's abilities as a mutant. And again, Siberia is just doing a fantastic job of developing Legion as a character, as well as developing the romance and the relationship between Ruth and David, or Blindfold and Legion respectively. And you really see just how Legion is going to go about basically saving mutant kind without them ever having realised it was him who actually did it. And just an absolutely fantastic series, and I'm so sorry to see it go. But here's hoping that Siberia can give these series and these characters that he's had such a great time on, as you can tell from the quality of the storytelling as well as the artists and the colorists on this series. I've had an absolute ball, and it's an absolutely fantastic series, and I'd highly recommend people check it out, even though, like I said, with issue 24 or volume 4 it'll be ending due to cancellation. And then we have volume 3, which again further develops Legion as a character, and you really see, as I said, more development with the relationship with himself and Ruth. You also see the relationship between David and his mother, Moira McTaggart, and there's a really devastating and a really heart-wrenching conclusion to that particular part of the story, as well as there's just a fantastic fight scene by, or with I should say, Legion and Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, who, if you've read Avengers vs. X-Men, you'll know that under the influence of the Dark Phoenix, supposedly, because that's been called into question in a lot of the various X books, particularly All New X-Men by Brian Michael Bendis, whether it was the Dark Phoenix who killed Charles Xavier, or whether or not Scott actually did it of his own free will and of his own accord. So there's a really great fight scene and a great confrontation between these two characters. And again, just an absolutely fantastic series. Cannot recommend X-Men Legacy highly enough. And Scott's final question was, name something that nobody knows about you on the YouTube comic book community. Unfortunately, I can't find any photographic evidence of this, but I know there is some lying around, and if I find it, I'll possibly scan the photos and I'll put them on the YouTube comic book community Facebook page. But as a kid, my mother and I, we used to keep some horses in a field, and we used to ride them and take them to horse shows a fair few years ago. And as a kid, I actually took part in a fancy dress competition, as well as it was a horse riding fancy dress competition. I must have been at least, well, between probably 7 to 10. I was still a young kid, and I grew up watching a certain Disney film, which was Hercules, produced by Disney, as I said. And for the fancy dress competition, I dressed up as the Disney version of Hercules, and my pony, Snowdy as I called him, was Pegasus. Like I said, I've got some photographic evidence somewhere, and if I can find it, I'll possibly scan the photos if I can, and I'll put them on the YouTube Comic Community Facebook page. So that's something that nobody knows about me, because I haven't had a conversation where it's been brought up. But there you are. There's my answers to all your questions, Scott. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, thumbs it up. Didn't like it, thumbs it down. But as I always say, if you thumbs down the video, by all means, please feel free to tell me why in the comments below, or send me a private message. I've completely forgotten the other question. Let me just run through this real quick. My favourite character. I've said previously in some other contest entries videos that I've done, my favourite anti-hero is John Constantine. My favourite hero is Hal Jordan. But I thought I'd do something a little bit different and do my current favourite hero at the moment, and that is Thor. Now, Thor is just, for starters, a extremely cool character with an awesome hammer which he can wield lightning with, as Obviously, he's the Norse god of thunder within the Marvel Universe. And in Jason Aaron's run, you see Thor throughout 3 stages of his life. You have young Thor, who is cocky, arrogant, brash. You have modern day Thor, who is the noble Avenger and the warrior for Midgard as well as Asgard, and a founding member of the Avengers, or one of the first members of the Avengers. And you really see Thor throughout 3 stages of his life, and you really see how the character changes throughout time, and you see Thor in the future as old King Thor, who is filled with regret and sorrow, as he's the last living god in existence, because Gore the God Butcher has basically gone around all of space and time and basically killed every single god that has ever existed or that ever will be, and Thor is the only god left living. And then here you see on the God Bomb trade, there's our 3 ages of Thor. There you see at the bottom you have young Thor, modern Thor, and King Thor. And in J. Michael Straczynski's run, you see Thor brought back from the dead, and you really see that he does care about humanity, as well as finding out that all of his other fellow Asgardians have disappeared. He has a love-hate relationship with his brother Loki, and in the second volume of JMS's run, you really see the father and son relationship between Thor and Odin, the All-Father. And you really see, like I said, the human side of Thor, and you really see that he's not just a god who just throws his mighty hammer at things, and he does generally have human emotions. Like I said, he has a love-hate relationship with his brother Loki. You see the estranged relationship between himself and his father, and you also see the camaraderie and the friendship between the Warriors 3, Hogun, Fandral, and Volstagg in JMS's run. And then in Walt Simonson's run, you see, particularly in the first volume or the first story arc, which introduces Beta Ray Bill, you see how Thor, turns out for the very first time, can be bested in combat, which is something that is previously unheard of, and Thor could never be bested in combat, and nobody other than Thor was supposed to be able to pick up Mjolnir, his enchanted hammer. But upon Beta Ray Bill's introduction, you see that Beta Ray Bill can actually best Thor and actually wield Mjolnir as well. And you really see that Thor initially is very, very upset by this. He's a very prideful being, and he's very sure of himself, but through Odin's teachings and through the life lessons that Odin tries to teach him, as well as Thor going on his adventures, particularly with Beta Ray Bill, you see that Thor does learn humility and what it is to be human as well. And again, going back to estranged relationships, you still have the estranged relationship between himself and his adopted brother Loki, as well as the estranged relationship between himself and Lady Sif, particularly as Thor's been spending a lot of time on Midgard, and their relationship has been estranged ever since. But slowly you start to see these two characters work their way back to one another, and then in the second volume you see Thor grieving for a family member after an epic battle with one of Thor's rogues gallery, who I won't reveal as I don't want to give away any spoilers, but you really see that Thor in the grieving stage, as he goes to basically deal with his grief, and he has an encounter with another individual who, again, I won't spoil who that is, but you really see Thor start to deal with his grief and then make his way back to his fellow Asgardians and his family, essentially, and goes on without this family member in his life, but then tries to make the best of a truly tragic situation. So those are my answers to Running with Comics contest entry. Sorry this video was a little bit longer, as I said, I forgot momentarily about the favourite hero question. Thanks everybody for watching, hope you all enjoyed it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, but as I always say, if you thumbs down the video, by all means feel free to leave a comment below or send me a private message telling me why you didn't like the video. If this is your first time here, by all means please feel free to subscribe, and until next time, this is Gambit896 signing off, and I'll see you guys later. Take care.